Hey there, Dr. Ember here. Today we're talking about how self help actually helps those around you. Now, you've heard the saying that you really can't help anyone until you help yourself first, right? And that no one can change unless they're willing to and want to. That is actually true. You see, if you have determined that there are things about yourself that you would like to improve, self help might just be the thing that you need. Now, how does self help actually help those around you? That's actually what we're going to be talking about here today. Stay tuned. Hello, my friends. If you are brand new, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I cherish each and every one of you and wish you love and light along your journey. Today, we are talking about how self help actually helps those around you. Now, you've heard the saying that you can't help anyone until you help yourself first. I hope so, anyway. I also hope that you've heard the saying that no one can change unless they're willing and want to, because both of these sayings are actually fact. If you have determined that there are things about yourself that you would like to improve, you see, self help might just be the thing that you need. If you have also found that some of the people in your life may need some self help too, the best thing you can do is improve those things about you that you see wrong in them. After all, your example might just be what they need in order to change their life. Now, let me stress you can only change one person, and that is yourself, okay? The fact is that we only have control over one person. That hasn't changed ever. We think we have control over something else. We think we have control over someone else. No. The only thing we actually have control over is us. How we think, how we feel, how we act, what we say, what we do. Okay? When you start taking control over your own needs without worrying about how that affects anyone else, things change. For example, if you needed to lose weight, but your spouse isn't very supportive, even though they could stand to lose a few pounds too, right? Putting yourself first in this case will probably rub off on them, especially if you happen to cook for the entire family. Make it a goal to eat healthier and exercise more. Take walks with your spouse in the evening. See how that goes. But realize that you can only change one person, and that is you. Now, you need to know also that when you are happy, people want to have that energy, that joy, that spark. When you show people by example that you are a different person and you've accepted responsibility for your life, it does show real happiness on your part. People will want what you have and they'll start asking what you did. You can share your good fortune by sharing the books you've read or the path that you took with them. Be honest, be authentic, okay? Everybody could use more joy in their life. And here's the thing, when you're stuck in the status quo, it's really hard to let everything else go. Okay? But you need to, because here's the thing, in order to change the story for yourself, you need to be able to get out of the consciousness that you are in and get into a different type of consciousness, a different way of thinking, a different mindset. This different way of thinking, this mindset, is filled with joy, right? It's filled with gratitude. This needs to be a full time shift in your life, not something you play at. And it's hard, but you have to do it every day. Set aside some personal time every day to say thank you to whatever you consider your higher power. Even just acknowledging it to yourself, thank you that I got this done today, is a great step because it's going to increase the joy within you and it's going to give you a different mindset. And when people talk to you, you can share that story with them. You can also treat people how to treat you. See, if people are treating you poorly, it may be because you've given them permission. And it's not necessarily a conscious thing. It's by our actions, how what we do, what we say, what we accept in our personal life. There must be a boundary line there that must be enforced, but you have to be able to respect yourself. You have to be able to love yourself. You have to have enthusiasm for life, which is why being comfortable in your own skin is super important also. See, these are all part of self help. These are all things that you can focus on to help yourself. Because when you do this, it starts to radiate out around you. Once you start treating yourself better, your friends and family actually might decide that they also deserve better. They might start treating themselves better, loving themselves, taking care of themselves better, as well as you, better solely based on your attitude, your actions, and your example. Now, when you learn to communicate better, that rubs off also, okay? And once again, we're working on improving us, but because we're improving us, things are changing around us. Now, it really might surprise you to realize that if you want to stop arguing and fighting in things like your relationship or your office or whatever it may be, right? It only takes one person to make the change, and that is you. Remember, you can only control you, what you do, what you think, what you say. You have to decide if it's more important to win fights or to get along. That doesn't mean you have to accept being walked over, a doormat that everyone takes advantage of. But you can end many fights by just refusing to take part in it. When you teach yourself better communication skills, because that is going to be the foundation of this, you'll learn how to talk to people in ways that keep them from going on the attack and escalating that issue. Okay? The next thing that you can do to help yourself, that actually help those around you, is mirror the behavior that you want to see. That is super hard. Trust this. I get it. You might not learn about mirroring if you aren't actively reading about self help, but read up on it. It's a very interesting technique. But as you learn more about yourself and how you want to be treated, you'll also learn how to act in a way that demonstrates to others how you want them to behave towards you. All right? Now, this does take some time to implement within yourself. All right? That's one of the reasons why you have to be authentic and you have to know yourself. But I am a firm believer in what I was taught was the golden rule. Do unto others as they do unto you. Right? Mirror the behavior you want to see. You want to be that helpful person in your life? Be that helpful person to someone else. You want to be that person filled with joy in your life? Be that to someone else. Okay? Mirror that behavior. Get comfortable in your skin. Learn to listen. Also, learn to compliment yourself and others. You see, studying self help techniques, you learn how to build self esteem in yourself. You learn that an honest compliment can go a long way, especially when it's given towards yourself every day, because that is one of the techniques that you can do, or towards others. An honest compliment about some random person that you meet that you don't know. As you feel more secure in yourself, you'll find that you have more good things to say about others. And as you compliment them, they will also feel better about themselves, and a circle of positivity will begin. Okay? Also, learn to ask questions the right way. Instead of trying to convince someone of a fact by debating them, learn to ask leading questions. Questions that make the person think about their answers deeply will work a lot better than making demands on them. As you read self help books and you practice self help tips for yourself to change your life, you'll learn the right techniques and people will see this within you. When you learn to ask questions the right way, it shows an inquisitive nature. It also means that you're practicing something called empathetic learning. You're listening, you're understanding, and you're acknowledging. Learning what boundaries are, it helps not only you, but everyone around you also. I spoke briefly of boundaries a few minutes ago. But boundaries are super important. I know. I've studied self help in a lot of different ways. I mean, technically, I'm certified as a transformational life coach. As you study self help, though, you learn more about healthy boundaries, which will keep you from taking any of the other lessons that you've learned too far in the wrong direction. You see, these boundaries keep us from either being abused or being abusive to others. It's not always easy to follow this, but the more that you do, the more your life changes. When you realize that our rights end where someone else's begins, it does change your perspective on things. And as you seek to improve yourself and put to practice the things that you learn, you'll find that your friends and family often follow your lead as long as you aren't demanding of them. Instead of actively trying to recruit anyone into your newfound self-knowledge training, just be the example. They'll come around on their own if they're interested. Until next time, love and light, peace and progress.